Okay, so welcome everybody to tasting number, what are we at? 163 of the Saratoga Whiskey Club. I hope that number is right. It's been such a blur this summer, not just from drinking whiskey, but from just keeping up with the numbers of tastings. Everything becomes a blur after a while, but yeah, 163. We did announce our next couple of tastings. We're going hard and heavy here in September and actually throughout the end of the year. There's just so much whiskey to try. And kind of my thought process is if the tastings don't fill up and there's a little bit left, if it's special whiskey, it'll go on our lounge bar in our club lounge. So that when people come, if they want to buy a pour, they can just buy a pour. So that's kind of how that's going to work. If it's a special bottle, if it's which these are mostly pretty special. Yeah, so we have a lot of things coming up. We have Bruichladdich next week. We have Old Carter the week after that. Pretty amazing. The week after that is the shop's 3-year anniversary party, which should be a lot of fun on Friday the 27th. And then on October 2nd, we have a virtual tasting with Murray McDavid, Scotch independent bottler. We're going to be joined by the importer who's based down in Atlanta to go through kind of some of their newer single cask expressions from Murray McDavid. So that should be pretty exciting. So yeah, we're going hard and heavy, but why don't we start with hard and heavy? We're going to start with the Weller Full Proof. Just curious, people here, how many have had this before? 1, 2, just 2? That's it? How about online? Nobody? Wow, okay. Interesting. So this is Buffalo Trace's Weller line. This is a wheated bourbon. Okay, so this is not a rye bourbon. This is wheat as the secondary grain. This expression started to come out in 2019. So it hasn't been around that long. And basically they've always bottled at 114 proof. So it's not technically what it is when it comes out of the cask. They are marrying a bunch of casks, but they are putting it out at what they call full proof, which is 114 proof or 57%, which is probably pretty close, to where it comes out. Maybe it comes out a little higher, but there's that kind of blend of different alcohol percentages. So 114 is probably the easy number for them. They do not disclose the mash bill. That's one of Buffalo Trace's things. They just tell you it's a wheated bourbon. So we do know that wheat generally will add some sweetness versus the spice that we get from rye, or maybe some of that minty note from rye that kind of goes away when you have a wheated whiskey. I first remember trying this actually when it came out. I happened to be down in the city, I think actually visiting Holly before the pandemic, and one of the bars that she used to call on, oh shoot, I'm forgetting the name of it, great bar. They had it brand new on the bar and it was just $20 a pour. And I was like, yep, that's me. And I really, really loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Now, I don't know if it's changed at all in the last 5 years. I don't know if I've had it since. So this will be my first taste of it, of this year's release. As we know with a lot of Buffalo Trace products, there can be a little bit of variation from year to year. Obviously with this, there's probably less so than there is with like the antique collection line, which can vary by proof and age even. There is no age statement on this, by the way. So cheers, everyone. Here's to our first bourbon of the night. Second bourbon of the night.
But who's counting?
pretty easy sipping. There is a kind of a dry oak finish I get on the end though. Kind of drops a little bit. I would have thought that the finish would have kind of lasted a little longer than that. It's very easy drinking, that's for sure. Definitely doesn't taste 114 proof, but it does kind of, to me, it drops a tiny bit on the end. I just had, it was just my first sip, so my palate's getting used to it, but pretty solid though. My favorite of the Weller line used to be the Antique 107, but I think it's now the full proof. But
what's the difference? Did you notice?
Well, the 107 used to be 107 proof, so it was the higher proof of the core line for a long time. I mean, and especially when you compare it to like the Special Reserve, which is really nothing. I mean, the Special Reserve is not that special. it's very overpriced Weller. It's not. We used it. I remember one year for our club dinner. We used it for cocktails because we thought it was a better cocktail bourbon, and it actually makes a good cocktail, but it's not a great sipper. I mean, I'm not trying to like be snobby when I say that. It's just compared to the other ones, it doesn't really hold up at all. The 12-year is pretty good, but the 107 seems to be more rounded and balanced for me. But this is really balanced and rounded as well. I actually think I like this one better than the 107.
Yeah, I agree. I prefer this one to the 107. The 107, even though the proof is lower, it comes across as hotter in a cinnamony way, like almost a big red cinnamon to me. Whereas this that's in there, but it's more almost like a coffee cake sort of cinnamon. And it's more balanced.
This is very sweet. There's very little spice on this at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a little bit of the oak note, but you're not getting any like grain spice, really. It's just a lot of real sweetness. I'm getting a ton of vanilla, you know, and honey. I mean, there's not a lot of complexity to this. It's pretty straightforward. That's kind of why I wanted to start with this bourbon, because I knew it was, I think it's our only weeded bourbon of the night, and it's a solid 81, you said?
Yeah, for me.
All right, that's pretty low, Vinny. For you?
I usually overscore these things.
Yeah.
I gotta go back to the Antique 107.
Yeah.
To see which I like better.
Yeah.
That is my favorite one.
Yeah. I mean, the Antique 107, you'll probably have a better chance finding in a bar or something like that for a reasonable price too.
I mean, I have it at home. I have that lower 12 and the Special Reserve.
Yeah.
I picked up a liter for $90. That's why I bought it.
So a liter should be like $40.
Yeah, I know. I know. It should be, but you know what? I make a lot of confidence.
Yeah, yeah. All of the Buffalo Trace products have gone through the roof. So
it does have that classic Buffalo Trace nose to me. Like as soon as I feel like if I blind nose this one, I would feel like it was Buffalo Trace. No, that's famous last words, but
yeah. I mean, it's definitely a good one to start with.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
So they have a building costume.
This could be a dangerous whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surely.
That's usually a good sign when it's dangerous.
Buddy just texted and said, hey, you want to go for a bike tomorrow morning?
What do you guys think online? Dave, have you had different Wellers before, or I don't know what your experience is with Weller?
Yeah, I've had the others, but it's been a while, so you know, my taste memory doesn't really allow me to compare it.
Yeah.
I'll just do more drinking, you know, more research. This is tasty though. Very, very, very easy drinker.
Yeah.
Nice to sip on. It could be trouble.
Yep. All right, you guys good with the Weller?
Yeah.
I don't want to go too fast, but I do want to.
Maker's Mark, we did too.
Yeah, Maker's Mark is weeded. That's probably the most famous weeded bourbon out there. Yeah. Yeah. There's not as many weeded as there are rye mash bill bourbons, but Maker's is a pretty big one.
Do you know what the mash bill is, or they don't tell you?
They don't tell you. Now this next one, I was doing some research earlier, and they do tell you, which is nice. So Barrell Craft Spirits, we've done a bunch of things with them over the years. We did a big seminar with them last year. Really hard to go wrong with their products. I mean, especially their, you know, premium stuff. There haven't been many that I've been like, this isn't really good. They're all really pretty solid. I remember last year when Amburana became a big thing. Amburana is that Brazilian oak that they use for cachaça and some other things. And Amburana adds this coconut kind of note to the bourbon, and it can be really overwhelming. It can just take over, and you won't even taste the corn. And of all of the people that did Amburana finishing, I felt like Barrell Craft Spirits had the best like balance, and they weren't covering up the bourbon. They were just adding that touch of Amburana. So I'm really curious to see how this Mizunara finish is going to be. There's a lot of details on this bottle, so let me read those.
Do you have the bottle there, Charles?
Yeah. And we have one of these available on the
Oh, cool.
I think we can get more of it though. So if somebody buys one of these tonight and somebody else wants one, I'm pretty sure I can get more. All right, so here's the details on this one. So this is a blend. There are quite a few bottles. They did say here on here. Let me see. It was, hold on.
Is it all barrels of blend, or no? They sometimes.
No, they do single barrels. Yeah. Shoot. It was a pretty big number, I kind of remember. I think it was like, here, hold on a second. 15,000 bottles. So not a single barrel. Let's put it that way. All right, so what's interesting about this is that on the bottle it says it's 6 years old. However, the bourbons that are in this are 6, 7, 8, 9, and 14 years old. They don't tell you how much of each, but it is a blend of all of these different aged bourbon barrels. The derived blend mash bill is 76% corn, 20% rye, and 4% malted barley. The proof is 150. Well, this one is 116.42. So that's pretty high, 58%. So a little higher than the Weller. Mizunara is Japanese oak. Some people maybe have had expressions from Mizunara oak before. The typical notes that you get from Mizunara, that at least I get, is kind of this sandalwood kind of note. It's almost like a incense sandalwood temple kind of note. Like if you're going to visit a Japanese temple, you smell these smokes kind of coming at you, and the sandalwood. It's not a smoky thing. It's just the smell of the wood. And I don't know about this one, but it's finished for 1.5 years in brand new Mizunara toasted barrels, not charred, but just toasted. So this Mizunara oak has never held anything before. It's just been toasted, not charred. For those that don't know, Mizunara is a very, very difficult oak to work with. It's incredibly hard to make barrels out of. It doesn't hold the liquid very well. It's mainly used for making furniture and really expensive furniture. It's a very beautiful wood. It's kind of a little bit of a waste to be making barrels with it, but it definitely adds a lot of unique flavors to whatever whiskey is being matured in it. And they're very expensive barrels. That's why you don't see a lot of people playing around with Mizunara because it's a very expensive kind of proposition, especially if you're talking about 15,000 bottles. That's a lot of Mizunara barrels being used to finish this this bourbon. So
The first time I didn't like it.
But now you're doing.
Yeah, well, I shouldn't say didn't like it. Didn't like it. Now it's better. Charles, do they ever do stage with the Mizunara and not do the barrel, or does it make
I
sense?
have not seen that. No. It's possible sometimes you might see Mizunara heads on a barrel, you know, where they actually have the end of the barrel being made out of Mizunara oak.
That would be probably easier.
And then you're not getting as much, you know, ratio contact. This is pretty deep. This has got a lot going on. Much more than the Weller, that's for sure. You can definitely tell that there's age in here. This is not a young whiskey by any means. There's some oak notes to it.
It's along the lines of the sandalwood, I think a little, almost like cedar
Yeah,
to it.
there is a little cedar note. And that is actually one of the tasting notes too that you can get from Mizunara. It's kind of that unripe fruit kind of note a little bit. Not in a bad way, but just kind of a little bit of a sharpness to it. I love the finish on this. Of all of the parts of it, the nose is pretty nice. The palate is pretty good. The finish is really nice, for me at least. I mean, I can still taste it. I can still taste it in my mouth. Almost like chew it.
There's a real pleasant like spearmint type note on that, on the finish.
Yeah, and that's probably coming from the rye.
Yeah.
Of all of the different characteristics in here. I mean, this is a much different whiskey than our first one. There's no question about it. You've got some spice to this. You have a longer finish. You definitely have some more kind of oaky age notes to this. I know it's probably not going to be for everyone, but it's actually pretty amazing. Some of you might have had the Vantage, the Barrel Craft Spirits Vantage, and 2 years ago that was number three whiskey of the year in Whiskey Advocates top 20, and one of the barrels that they used in that was Mizunara. That was a combination, I can't remember now, I think it was Mizunara, French oak, and one other, I can't remember what the other, but it was a really great kind of blend of finishings. And it was number 3 in the US, or number 3 in the world that year for Whiskey Advocate. So that's a pretty big honor. And this is their first edition of this finish, the Mizunara. And this is $89.99. So not a crazy price. That's actually, yeah, pretty good price for barrel.
Now where is this barrel craft?
So Barrel Craft Spirits is based in Louisville, or in Kentucky, Louisville, and they have a humongous warehouse of barrels. They don't actually make whiskey; they just buy barrels from all over the place. So actually this one, and I didn't mention that, thanks for bringing that up. This one, oh, actually it does tell you the different ages from each state. So from Indiana, we have 6, 7, and 9-year whiskey bourbon. From Kentucky, we have 8-year-old bourbon, and from Tennessee, we have 8 and 14-year-old bourbon. So that's where all of the bourbons are coming from.
So they're independent bottle, right?
Yeah, they're a bottler. They're kind of the first, really kind of the first people to kind of say that they're a bottler. However, they do more than just American stuff. They get Canadian whiskey, they get they do rum, they do other things too. So they're not just the United States. Whereas Lost Lantern, who we've all gotten to know recently, Lost Lantern just focuses on the United States, no Canada, no anything else. So Barrell is truly kind of the first, maybe independent bottler of American kind of spirits. So I don't know, to tell you the truth. We're not selling it on, you know. We're gonna put it on our raffle for our anniversary party, and I think the MSRP is gonna, I don't know, it's somewhere around $60 or something like that. But what people are paying for it right now is like $300-400. Yeah.
No.
Because you can't really get it.
You can't get it. Yeah. So people are paying crazy amounts for the Weller full proof. Yeah.
In 2021, Matt Crane got a bottle for $50 up in Queensbury.
Oh yeah. I mean, some people put it on the shelf and they don't even, or they do it randomly. Just nice.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty rare. I mean, I got a Weller CYPB the same way. And a shop just put it up, and they were like, somebody's going to be lucky today. And I just happened to be working there that day, and I grabbed it. I couldn't believe the price. I was like, what? Oh yeah. I'm not going to say anything.
Crazy. Quite a find.
I love the finish.
Where was this King's?
I'm kind of a fan of Mizunara, so that it kind of leans my wheelhouse.
That's delicious.
Yeah. It's not overpowering, the Mizunara, but it's nice. It's there. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice cherry.
We have an Irish whiskey right now from Glendalough. That's a 7-year Irish single malt that's in Mizunara. And that's actually pretty good as well. I think that's the only Mizunara we have right now. It's not very common.
Does the Mizunara have to be grown in Japan? Do you know?
Yeah, it's Japanese oak.
Okay, so because it just seems, you know, Japan is only so big, and I know like the oak is pretty old, like it's like
it's not
wood.
It's not a straight tree, so that's what makes it also challenging. You know, I mean, it is straight, but not like our American oak that just goes straight up. And really easy to make staves out of. It's a fatter tree. It takes much longer to grow. It's a harder wood.
It surprises me this bottle isn't more expensive. You know, if it's, you know, brand new Mizunara.
Go scroll. So they maintain not a percentage.
Okay. Let me pull up my notes so we can move forward here.
Have we ever had this?
What?
This distillery.
Augusta? No.
Augusta.
Because I didn't think, I was like, I never heard of this.
Get it?
What's he doing?
The
barrel?
There's more,
You're only 3 in and you're already buying stuff?
Oh, my stuff, I was not.
Yeah.
And you're already up there looking?
Okay, let's talk about Augusta, because these next two bottlings are from Augusta. And I'll give you a little bit of like kind of background on how we got these bottles. So the distributor that we work with up here in New York for this, actually for Barrell craft spirits as well, is Skurnik, for some of these really cool brands. They reached out, I don't remember when it was, a few months ago, and they were like, oh, we've got this new hot thing. You need to jump on it. And we had never heard of it before. And, you know, we're a little skeptical about jumping on things right away without tasting it or knowing anything about it. And, you know, we waited just a little bit and that was all it took. And it was gone. Because the word spread, and that's kind of how these things work, especially in the bourbon world. And so then I don't know, it was a couple weeks or 3 weeks later after that, they kind of reached out and said, hey, by the way, we can still get you a case of each of these two things. Would you like that? And we're like, sure, let's just go ahead and take it. We were heading into summer, you know, or I think we didn't get this till like later in June or something like that. So track season, you know, we're like, let's get some nicer bourbons in here. But we have not tasted this still to date. It's a little bit of a challenge staring at these bottles on the shelf without knowing what they taste like. You know, people come in and they ask about it and we're like, I don't know, you can guess as well as we can. But here's what we found out a little bit. So they're located in Augusta, Kentucky, right on the Ohio River, south of Cincinnati. Sounds like New Riff. That's exactly where New Riff is located as well. They're not in Augusta, but they're close. Before Central Kentucky was the hub of bourbon production, the North, right on the Ohio River, would have been the hub, and this brand is paying homage to that heritage. Founded in 2018 by co-founders Lance and Lolani Bates, who also own a tavern in the town. They are currently building their distillery in an 1800s production facility. As of now, they source whiskey from throughout Kentucky and bottle it. So obviously this next one and the one after 8 and 10 years, that's older than they are. So it's definitely sourced. It is coming from Kentucky, however. We do know that. We do not know the mash bill. So I can't even tell you anything about that. Which is really sad because they really should say that, you know, I mean, at least online or something. This one's 118.8 proof, 59.4%. It's called Old Root. This is their Old Root 8-year Augusta. Now we are getting one bottle, which was delivered actually a week ago, and the label was all messed up, and I sent it back. We're getting one bottle of the 17-year-old, and the price to us, before we add our, you know, shop fee, is over $300 just for the 17-year-old. So we're getting one bottle of that. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet.
Yeah, it literally says,
It would be a pretty expensive dram though, you know.
Put it on the shelf.
It says limited release, 17-year-old.
Yeah, so
Cask strength unfiltered.
this is my first time trying both these next two, actually the next four, to tell you the truth. I haven't had any of these besides the Weller. So
We're doing the 8-year first.
yeah, we're doing the 8-year first. Yep.
Thanks.
Very wine.
Knowing about these when I had my project in Cincinnati.
Stopped over.
Ah, okay. I found some information. This must be pretty new because we didn't have this when we entered our website. 74, it's the same mash bill as our Blue Note.
Really?
74% corn, 18% rye, and 8% malted barley. So most likely they got this whiskey from whatever distillery Blue Note gets our barrel from before they bottle it in Memphis. But we don't know what distillery that is though for Blue Note, so I can't guess. I'm gonna say it could be Barton. It's possible. It kind of has that Barton note to it a little bit. I mean, you never know. It could be Heaven Hill. It's hard to know. There are a lot of these barrels kind of floating around now. We're actually doing a private barrel for the owner of the winner of the Belmont, the horse named Dornoch. And so we've been searching for barrels, and there was, you know, if you're quick, there was some 10-year Heaven Hill. There was some older Wild Turkey. You know, there are some things out there. Now this is a single barrel, so this is not a blend. This is not multiple barrels. This is just one barrel. So this is very different than our Blue Note though, in flavor profile. The Blue Note I feel is sweeter. This with the age and the oak makes it a little bit spicier.
What's the age of your Blue Note?
We're around 5. Yeah, somewhere in that. They don't have an exact age on that one.
It's not aggressive.
No.
So
Beautiful finish.
did one of them go bye-bye?
It's right here.
All right, I need to, in case somebody online buys one. Oh, that's all right. I think you're just looking at it?
Yeah, we didn't buy it.
Oh, okay.
That's the one.
Well, if you do want it,
Yeah.
let me know, because
Looking at it long ago. Yes.
so these aren't like inexpensive by any means. This one's $119.99, so it's not a cheap bottle, but it is a single barrel. It is kind of the hot, you know, new whatever. You know, when we were doing our kind of evaluation on what we should charge for barrels and stuff like that, when you're getting into that 8-year to 10-year mark with bourbon now, cash strength single barrel bourbon, you are looking at $100 easily now on the shelf. You know, if it's 5 years, it's probably going to be closer to what our Blue Note is, which is $60. You know, and that's actually a steal for cash strength. You know, 5-year-old. But yeah, when you're getting up into that 8, you're already over 100, and then when you're getting up to 10 or 12 or whatever, it's really shooting up quite a bit now. So yeah, this one's 119. Fun to try for sure.
Is your budget going up? Did you have a budget before? That's good. You shouldn't have years ago.
What do you guys think of this one?
Oh,
Do you guys like this one or
Love it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I think it's good. The last one was a little, I liked the
I
last
like
one.
the
That's
Mizunara
just
so
mine.
far. That's my number one.
this one or the last one?
I like the last
The
one.
barrel.
The barrel was your favorite?
Yeah, so
So
far.
far.
So far.
But this one's good.
What about you guys? Which was your favorite of the first 3?
The Mizunara, the barrel Mizunara was my favorite. I really liked how it was like complex, but still everything balanced and pretty tasty about it.
Yeah.
I'm almost getting a like a, you know, you said spicy, but it's almost like a cinnamon candy for this one.
Yeah, definitely like a cherry note on it.
But I the Mizunara definitely number one so far on this end.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
The source is kind of low, but there was no finish.
Correct.
It definitely has that more mintiness. You know, the Mizunara is going to cover some of that. It's going to add an extra layer of other flavors that you're not. It's going to mute some of that rye spice, but the rye spice is definitely coming out on this one. That's spearmint for sure. There's no dill, but it's definitely kind of more of a mintiness kind of note to it. And oak, there's definitely oak. You know, all of these actually, I've been surprised. Not so much the Weller, but even the Mizunara one, there's quite a bit of oak in there. And again, that comes from that age. Those older barrels that are in there, that's giving you that oak note. All right, so let's compare this one to the 10-year. Let me see if I can find out the mash bill on this one and see if it's the same. I didn't do all my homework here. Okay. Wait, I don't know if this is right. That's right.
No, they're very different.
Huh. Yeah, just on the nose, as soon as it hits you, it's like, oh wow, so different.
There we go. What?
Okay, here we go. So this one's 10 years old. The proof on this single barrel that I have here is 110.8 or 55.4% ABV. The mash bill on this is 78% corn, 10% rye, so much smaller rye percentage, and 12% malted barley. So quite a different expression. Whenever barley is up that high, it's usually a good thing. So let's find out.
Yeah, definitely.
Now this one's not cheap. This is what, 169?
Yeah, this is 169. Yeah.
169.99.
119. Single barrel.
Hey, Emily, you recover from Rob's? You don't have to get on. I'm just asking. It's quite the weekend. Huh. So this one's a lot nuttier. It's got like a kind of a nutty quality, almost like a peanut kind of quality to it. Definitely doesn't have that rye spice or the mintiness that we had on the last one. I just had one sip so far, but I'm getting like a peanut. Oh my God. Peanuts coming through like big time. It kind of reminds me a little bit. I don't know if anybody's had Fortuna. Fortuna is the kind of core product of Rare Character. You get a lot of that peanut note on Fortuna.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, even like a pecan.
That's better.
Huh. Interesting. This is pretty good. I like this one better than the last one.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You like the first one better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's okay. Get out.
I've been here 163 times, I probably should.
Lucas, I can send you out for many reasons.
Lucas, you're an OG.
I am.
After Lucas handed out all of the laptops for the whole Saratoga school district, he's probably a little tired right now.
Door shut.
School starts tomorrow.
School starts
My
tomorrow.
wife was like, "Are you really going to?"
This is a back to school tasting.
Better to start the week.
That's how I got Lucas here. He was able to sell it. So it's back to school, got to do it. So
I get. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Charles.
Go ahead.
Oh, I like how I get peanut butter on the nose, but then once it's on the palate, it tastes like pecans, and it makes me like want to put like salted pecans in peanut butter. I have peanut butter like every day, and I'm like, why have I never done that to see like what that combo is together?
Go for it.
Yeah, I did the same.
Yeah, why not?
Does have this nuttiness.
On toast.
This is a pretty delicate bourbon. I mean, it's not a punch you in the face kind of bourbon. This definitely has some elegance to it.
Both flavors.
This is kind of my style. I love that malted barley. That adds a little bit creaminess to it that you don't get with most bourbons. I mean, it's not like super thick. It's still pretty light.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing I miss. Is that it's light.
Yeah.
I like it, but it's delicate, but it's light.
I mean, it does stick pretty good, but
Definitely not those things.
it's still, it doesn't look oily.
Rye, so I'll be in the face.
Who's got the squirt bottle?
I call it a squirt bottle. You were definitely on a sports kid.
I mean, kudos to them. They got some. I mean, both of these weren't bad at all.
They're different. They're not. They
Yeah.
don't taste like anything
Yeah, I
else.
mean, they're not cheap. I guess that's the only kind of thing that makes it a little bit challenging. They'll go. I mean, people will buy them. We're not worried about that, but you know, everything. It's so hard to kind of understand the pricing these days of what a bourbon should be. I mean, are we in a bubble? You know, is the bubble gonna pop? Is Augusta in the bubble? You know, are they priced too high? You know, are they gonna pop?
Over 150, I really gotta think about it.
So we did at the track tasting. Some of you guys, some people were at the track a month ago or so, and we did the Bardstown Bourbon Company, their Amrit expression. Talk about a bottle that's in the same price point as this one. That was fantastic. Like it was delicious. Pretty amazing.
Cool.
And then everyone was like,
No.
Everyone's looking around.
I was like,
I was in the office right that night.
I gotta tell you, though, best bang for your buck was that Lagavulin gas festival bottle. $110.
This one's catching it, so when we try to spray in the boat, it was like-
Right, that's like one of my favorite bottles that I brought back.
Okay. Are we moving too fast?
No.
No? We're okay.
At least here you are.
Gotta put the kids on the school bus tomorrow. Once they're
I already
going.
told them I'll probably be lying at work tomorrow.
All right, so let's move on then, I guess. We're gonna move on to rye.
Be lying and do it 2 people instead of 3.
I know it's like the later day, but my weekend continues forever.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to James Pepper. I'm really excited for James Pepper and what they're doing at the Old Pepper Distillery. This we did our own barrel with Pepper that first year that we opened. And that was fantastic. That was a really great rye. Also reasonable. And they're new, you know, they're one of those brands that was around forever and then closed and then was reinvigorated, restarted. Trying to remember how old they truly are, but it doesn't matter. They're right outside of Lexington. They have a beautiful facility. Their still is not big. It's not like a giant, you know, monster distillery or anything like that. Actually, our barrel that we got from Pepper at the time was sourced, so it wasn't even their own rye. I think it was MGP, which it was. A lot of stuff was MGP at the time. This one as well says distilled in Indiana, so we're still talking MGP with this one. However, this one is finished. This is really unique. This one's finished. Hold on, guys. This one's finished in heavily toasted barrels made from Kentucky oak. So this is not your typical, you know, Missouri oak or, you know, upper Midwest oak, where a lot of the forests are that cooperages use.
Eggy sulfur smell.
Okay, here you go. It says here, for this special bottling, we've taken a fine straight whiskey and given it a secondary finish in a heavily toasted barrel made from the staves of the finest Kentucky oak. Unlike the average whiskey barrel, which has its staves air seasoned for 6 months prior to assembly, the staves for these barrels were air seasoned for 18 to 24 months. Now, if I were to guess, this is 95.5 rye barley. That's typically what Pepper does, is they get MGP 95.5. This one is 54.7%. And this that's weird. And this one is 75.99. That sounded like a bad weird to me too.
The nose is here, the palate's over here, the balance is about here, and the finish is about here.
It's smooth as silk, and I do get the dill on the palate.
It is.
Oh.
Whoa, dill. It's like eating a dill pickle to me.
They're towards the back.
Yeah, there is an astringency on the finish.
But it's not a bad dill. Like it's a light. It's not like you know, a yogurt dip with dill in it that you're dipping pita bread into. This is more of a light.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. It's not even that strong. I'm just stand out to me.
My comment is funky dill pickle.
I guess yogurt.
I love it. Right, dill pickles,
Especially those funky pickles.
I think it's pretty delicious.
It really is.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's definitely not. It's definitely not a spice bomb, like too sharp or, you know, over spiced. There is spice, don't get me wrong, but it's not like just too sharp or over spiced. This is pretty smooth for what it is. And I hate that word smooth, but it's
It's my favorite, but it is one of my favorites. It made it into the 90s.
Yeah, it has these rye qualities, but not a harshness that sometimes I expect with a rye above 100 proof.
Gas station, I have a 6-year-old, which is about the funkiest whiskey. Nobody will bring that.
Hollywood.
Yeah, she. She's all.
Hollywood.
There's no age statement on this.
Funky whiskey.
I'm gonna guess, you know, it's probably that 4 to 5 year mark, which was what our barrel was. Our proof was around the same proof as well. I do like that finish though. I think the finish adds something to this. I mean, if they didn't have this finish, you just think about it, it would taste like any other MGP product, you know, and there's a lot of those out there, so.
This is not it, Charles, right?
Go for the kneecap.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah, I brought more of it in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have this
You
one.
had another old pepper rye. but-
Well, we had our own barrel for a long time,
Okay.
yeah, but that was a while ago.
Yeah, I have some.
Huh. It's pretty easy drinking, I have to say.
Yeah.
I don't like the nose, yeah. Did somebody mention that? The nose?
Yeah, we were all disagreeing with it.
Yeah.
I like the nose, but the nose doesn't taste anything. The nose doesn't.
The nose doesn't represent well for what it is.
Oh, right.
It kind of has like a alcohol-y nose or a nail polish. There you go. Yeah, totally. Or nail polish remover.
Right. I love drinking that.
Oh,
that's good.
Now it's like, I know that.
I hit it with a drop of water and it brought it together a little bit. Some of that kind of smoothness type quality, it amped it up a bit.
I like it. I mean, if it wasn't for the nose, which, I mean, to tell you the truth, with rye whiskeys, the nose isn't something that you smell too often or, you know, really enjoy. It's more the palate and the finish. You know, you're not sitting around sniffing your rye whiskey as much as you would a scotch or a bourbon.
Yeah.
World whiskey wise, Amaret was my first favorite world whiskey.
Yeah.
And
I really like
from
it.
New Jersey, I
Yes.
was pepper Indian.
Huh.
So we
It definitely spiced it up.
Yeah, I like it.
John Paul,
I just said
Indian whiskey.
I put one drop and changed it.
Hey, Charles,
Yeah,
why is that? Just out of curiosity, that you wouldn't.
with the nose.
Yeah, with the nose.
I mean, I have.
You know, I think for me, what it is with rye whiskey is that rye can be so varied, like all over the map when it comes to flavors. And you can't really get those varieties based on the nose with rye. It's more just when you dive into it, the palate and finish. That's not to say that there aren't some good nosing ryes, like our barrel pick of Nulu, which is the toasted barrel. That has a lot of vanilla notes. It actually has a lot of bourbon notes, and it is a rye. Same 95.5 rye. But in general,
Still got it.
I don't know, rye just doesn't offer as much nosing qualities as other grains
Dark label, that's very good.
or barrels. I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe, but not to say that you don't want your rye to smell good. You do. And this one I think is lacking on the nose, but that doesn't like ruin it for me. I wouldn't mind drinking this at all. I just would avoid nosing it.
Yeah, the way, this is just my experience personally, but sometimes the nosing is almost like an invitation to want to drink the whiskey and have more. And some of those notes in a rye nose that I get aren't necessarily the kind of things that once you smell it invites you to be like, oh, I want some of that. Like the bear with the pie on the windowsill, and the bear is like, you know, the cartoon bear is like following the scent, like I gotta have some of that pie. I don't necessarily feel that often with the kinds of scents you get out of a rye nose. Like you can, like you said, like your barrel pick with the vanilla in there, but like with scotch and bourbon, I'll get that kind of invitation in the nose that sometimes in rye, just the kind of scents you get aren't those inviting ones.
Now with our Danish rye, it has a beautiful nose, but that's also malted rye, and there's a lot of barley in there too. So it's a whole different kind of category.
The spawning.
Yeah, the stawning. You know, typically though, when you have a 95% rye, or even 100% rye, and there are quite a few of those out there. The nose is not, I mean, it can be beautiful, but it's not always going to be beautiful. Just-
Charles, what's the price point on this?
This one's $75.99,
Okay.
and we do have some of this in stock. I like it. I think it's pretty good. I'm a big fan of what they're doing too, so that means a lot to me. It's not just how great it is, but I also like supporting brands or distilleries that are trying to do it the right way. So
Yes.
I don't. As I said,
okay,
Actually, there was a study that interests me. Study that.
That was the first thing that really I wasn't the right person, but over
Yeah,
I know they know it best.
Yeah.
I
So I went to bourbon, and I had a guy make me a brine, and it comes out, and I said, don't make it with just regular picking. You know, I do. What about this? I've never seen that one. And then I'm literally sitting here, and this is sitting on the bottom. It's really $2.
okay. So we're gonna move on to our last whiskey of the night. This is actually really unique way to kind of finish up this tasting. So Rare Character is one of those hotter brands out there. Actually, we have had quite a bit of Rare Character in the shop. It was one of those things that actually came to New York fairly early in the process of becoming very popular. And we had all these people from Massachusetts coming over and buying bottles from us because they couldn't get it in Massachusetts. And now there's more Rare Character in Massachusetts than anywhere in the Northeast. It's like every store in Massachusetts has literally done 1 or 2 single barrels with Rare Character. It's crazy. And we've never done a barrel with Rare Character. But you know, it's still a very allocated product. We were only able to get 1 case of this, and we're down to our last bottle of this. Yeah, we're not getting any more of this one. We actually today sold our last Rare Character New York 2, the New York 2 bourbon. That was also allocated. So these things are, you know, they're pretty rare character. But this one's a really interesting kind of mash bill. And I'm assuming this is the same because it looks like it. Yeah, this has got to be the same. All right, so check this out. This is one of my favorite mash bills.
100%.
So I'm really excited to try this. Hold on, hey guys, hold on. This is 51% rye, 45% corn, and 4% malted barley. So it's barely a rye. The age on this one is 6.8 years. The proof is 105.84.
Why is it a black label on your website?
Well, the other side.
Well, it's just our pictures. Well, no, it's the way our cameras.
What was the ADP on that?
Well, the proof is 105.84. 52.92.
That's good.
But I want to know.
Go down on it before you try it.
I was concerned, right?
So they finished fry. Okay, let me see. I just don't know how long the finish is.
I really like the nose on
The nose at least matches the taste.
Yeah.
So this one's finished in a maple cask, but I don't know how long it's finished in a maple cask.
52.92, so 53.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can put this on your pancakes.
It's a. But it's not a super rye.
This is a perfect one for sitting out in the fire.
Vanilla ice cream.
Yeah. It's got that corn sweetness from the 45%. It is. If this was in the advent calendar, good luck. There's no way you would know this is a rye whiskey.
No.
That would be really hard. I mean, I'm not getting, I mean, maybe a tiny bit on the nose, but
Yeah.
I never could have told you this is a rye. When in northern Michigan, there's a distillery called Ironfish that finishes in maple barrels often, and that's where I'm from, where I grew up. And the cask strength maple finish bourbons that they do taste very, very similar to this.
well, we've also had, there's a local distillery called Taconic Distillery down in the Hudson Valley. They've done maple cask bourbons and actually done a really good job with those. So, you know, it is a common thing up here where we make maple syrup. And so there's a lot of maple casks around. Vermont obviously has a ton, but this is pretty darn good. This is dessert. So this reminds me a little bit of like Angel's Envy. You know how Angel's Envy has that dessert quality to it, whether it's the rye or the bourbon. More so the rye finished in the port barrels. I mean, that's
the port barrels are sweet too, right?
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, this is clearly after dinner, sitting on the fire.
but really nice. This is tasty.
Yeah, I love this.
This is one that I might buy, damn it.
Again, those are great.
It's still around? Is it gone?
I just took it.
Yes.
You bought it?
You got it? Oh.
All right, we better do that before somebody online does it. I'll tell you that.
They'll be ripping it on your teeth.
I have to say, everything I've ever had from Rare Character, I've just loved. Like, not even like an 8 out of 10. It's always like 9 out of 10 or more for me. And I've probably had 6 now.
Yeah, yeah, no, they do a really good job. And again, they're not distilling. They're bottling. They're playing around like barrel craft spirits. You know.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, okay, I'm tempted, so.
No,
That's fun.
I know. I need to leave it.
All right, so let's go real quick before I close out the people online. What were your favorites online? Maybe just throw out your top 2.
Definitely Mizunara.
Mizunara,
Mizunara and Buckner, the Augusta 10.
the 10-year. Okay.
Probably Mizunara and honestly, the Weller Full Proof, probably.
Okay.
Mizunara and the Rare Character.
The maple. Nice. Anybody else?
Mizunara and the Augusta 10-year.
Wow. All right.
Judge not.
How about you guys?
Me, it's Mizunara at the 8-year.
Yeah, me too. Exactly.
I feel like I might be more towards the first and the last, or the Mizunara and the last.
Okay.
I think that both of the Augustas
Okay.
are my top 2.
Nice. That's great. So a good mix of things. What about you guys here in the room? Where are we at?
Mizunara for sure.
Mizunara?
Full pepper.
Full pepper? Okay.
Dare to be
Full
different.
pepper? Wow.
Samsonite.
Samsonite.
Second
What is the Samsonite? I'm not getting it.
No,
Starts with an S. I'm sure.
that was Steve Carell. Steve Carell.
Oh, I don't know.
It was,
Anybody else?
For me,
All right.
Mizunara was number 1 and the maple was number 2.
It's really good.
Mizunara and the 8-year.
All right, so on that note, we are going to wrap up tonight. It actually went a little fast tonight. It's only 8:10, but you know, I am almost certain that you all have bottles somewhere behind you. So the night is still young.
It was
And
only 6 tonight too, so.
I don't need to stop you from doing what you need to do. So I was just here to warm you up and get you going. And so there you go. So if I see you next week, I see you. If I don't, enjoy your early fall weather. And good to see everybody, and we'll see each other soon.
All
Ciao.
right, Charles, great.
Thank you,
take.
Charles. This was
Thank you.
fun. Loved every one of them.
Yeah.
Cool.